Welcome back to the fourth and final session focused on Samourai Wallet, a free and open source non-custodial Bitcoin wallet. My name is Brother Rabbit, and I'm again joined by Bitcoin Q&A. Today we're rounding off the series with giving you an overview of Dojo, the full Bitcoin node implementation to back your Samourai wallet. If you haven't yet taken the steps to run your own node, we're hoping to provide you with the information you need to get started. Hopefully by now you're familiar with Samourai Wallet and its privacy-focused functions, spend tools, and zero-link coin join ability using Whirlpool. Well, running your own dojo is the final step for those wishing to not only become their own bank, but protect your privacy when doing so. I'm really looking forward to this one. Bitcoin Q&A, how are you doing?
Hey brother, yeah, I'm good. I've got a distinct sense of deja vu though. We're gonna have to come clean and own up that we had some we had some technical issues to recording the live stream, and unfortunately my computer decided that it wanted to not record your audio. So here we are in post production, going through it all over again.
Oh, no problem. Well, hopefully we'll get a few things right this time, hey?
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. At least we don't have to keep an eye on the troll box as well.
Yeah. So this one's just for those listening back via Samourai Wallet, YouTube, and Bitcoin TV. So welcome.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Pleasure to be back once again. So I'll just give a quick recap as to the aim for these 4 sessions. This one being the last one. So Brother Rabbit and I are hoping to take you back to basics, have a really sort of new user-focused look at the Samourai ecosystem. We're going to cover what we have covered: Samourai Wallet, Sentinel Watch-only wallet, the privacy-preserving spend tools within Samourai Wallet. Last week we covered Whirlpool, and today we're going to be covering Dojo. So just a quick recap, a little bit more in depth on what we covered last week in case you missed it. As I said, we were talking about Whirlpool, the CoinJournal implementation from the Samourai Wallet developer team. So we covered off in-depth look at the different pools and the fees involved with those different pools. We sort of taught you through some tips as to how you might pick the correct pool based on your sort of mixed configurations. We talked about what doxic changes and how you might be able to deal with that. Then we moved on to talk about post-mix, the different one of the final accounts within the sort of Whirlpool section of the wallet. And then we talked you through the different ways in which you can use Whirlpool, namely mobile mixing, the desktop GUI, and then the sort of ultimate, the pinnacle of the stack, the Whirlpool CLI.
So what with the the Whirlpool CLI, as we described in the Whirlpool session, running on your node, there's sort of like a natural flow from using Samourai Wallet, from using your mobile phone to get started, and being the OG, getting to running your own dojo. So this session being focused on Dojo, we'll talk you through what it is. So for example, Dojo is the Samourai Wallet backend server. So it is the Samourai Wallet node implementation specific to Samourai Wallet, and it acts as your own node, and it's free and open source, just like Samourai Wallet is. And using your own dojo, you can follow your own Bitcoin rule set. So you can verify all your own incoming transactions because your wallet is connected to your own node. You don't have to trust any third parties. So today, if you're using Samourai Wallet without your own dojo, you are using somebody else's dojo. That being Samourai Wallet's what we call the Samourai servers. So by running your own dojo, you've got like a little box sitting at home, if you like, or you're running it on a computer, and you're verifying all your transactions through your own node without any third parties. Dojo is Tor by default. So what does that mean? That means that the communication from your Samourai Wallet app to your dojo is all routed over Tor, and it's a dojo sitting on the network that is yeah. So I'm getting in the weeds here, but ultimately your Samourai Wallet is interacting with your dojo over Tor, which is good for privacy. Also, another benefit for your dojo running on Tor is that means you can access it from anywhere. So Say you're running your dojo node at home, you're out and about. Well, you can connect back to your dojo over Tor. You don't really have to think about it too much because it's all done for you within the Samurai Wallet app. But this means you can send and receive transactions while out and about, and also you can also, if you wish to do so, you can log into the maintenance tool on a Tor browser app, and you can check the status of your dojo.
Cool. So that was a good sort of high level look at some of the reasons that you might want to run a dojo. The next couple of slides are going to give you a bit more of an in-depth look as to the individual benefits, and we've kind of split them up into different categories to sort of spell out why having your own dojo and being able to use one might give you some benefit. So the first category is privacy. So no XBub sharing. So what does that mean? That means by default, when you download Samourai Wallet, you have to share the sort of view-only key to your Samourai Wallet with the Samourai servers, so that your wallet knows when it receives transactions, and also so that it can send transactions. As Brother Rabbit just said, that's all done over Tor, so there is no way that you can be personally identified by doing this, but it may be within some people's threat models that they might not want to share any of that information at all. So by having your own dojo, you don't have to share that XBub information with anybody apart from yourself. Again, going back to the Tor thing that Brother Rabbit covered off just a second ago, obviously there are no IP addresses on Tor. Those are all completely masked, and your IP address can actually be linked to your sort of physical location. So by having it ran over Tor and connected to your own sort of Tor connected dojo, you're not leaking your IP address to anybody. And finally, by having your own dojo, you can query any transactions in a very private manner. They might be your own transactions. You might want to see where they are in the sort of queue to be processed, known as the mempool, or you might want to just take a look back at some historical transactions that you've made. If you were to do that using somebody else's dojo, you may be able to leak certain metadata that might be used to de-anonymize you now or in the future. By doing that with your own dojo, you can do this really privately. So the second category is trustless. So by having your own dojo, you can send Bitcoin to anybody on the network without having to trust any third parties. That's all processed via your own dojo directly out to all of the other nodes in the network. No trusted third parties involved. The next one, you can verify your incoming transactions. Now this is one that sort of crops people up, where they ask how they can verify their own transactions. Well, in actual fact, just by having your Samourai Wallet backed by your own dojo, the very nature of you receiving a transaction through that setup is verifying your transactions. Your dojo will do that based on the rule set that is implemented by the software when you install it. There's no sort of physical steps required to be taken from you to do this. It's just a case of if you receive a transaction and your node accepts it, then it's verified and it plays by the Bitcoin rule set. And the converse of that obviously is that your node is kind of, your dojo is always, if it receives, somebody tries to send you an invalid transaction, that will be immediately rejected. And the likelihood is you won't even see it in your wallet because it doesn't meet the rule set. Which brings us on to number 3, the rule set. So you can vote with your feet. So if in the unlikely event that the Bitcoin network has a sort of consensus split, by running your own dojo and backing your Samourai wallet with your own dojo, if the software that is currently running on Dojo follows the sort of split in the network that you don't agree with, you can vote with your feet and move to, say, the other fork in the network, so that you can follow the rule set that you want to. Whereas if you were just using Samourai Wallet as a sort of a light client connecting to the Samourai servers, then you wouldn't have any say in that. You'd have to follow the decision that the person running that server was taken and what sort of which network they followed. And finally, yep, you can run the code that you choose. So this kind of all encompassing of what I've just said, really. If there are any changes to the sort of Dojo code base that you don't agree with, you're free to change that at any time that you like. Like Brother Rabbit said earlier, it's free and open source, and you can sort of point that to whichever sort of area of the network you like to make sure that it's following the rules that you yourself want to follow.
So moving on to the fourth reason why you might like to run your own dojo is one we've called ideology. So Bitcoin in its very nature is a decentralized network, and by you running your own node, you might feel like it's important to maintain that decentralization of the network. The more nodes that are running around the world, for example, the more difficult it is for anybody to sort of censor Bitcoin or completely remove it, control alt delete it. So the more copies of the blockchain that are distributed, the stronger the network. Also, if you're running your own node, say, I think that we can certainly say that running your own node is a little bit more sort of you've got to be a little bit more technically minded, perhaps, although it's certainly getting easier. But for some people, it might just be a hurdle too far. So you can be what's referred to as Uncle Jim. So if you're running your own dojo, it's possible for friends and family if they've got Samourai wallets, they can connect to your node. So should they trust you with that sort of element of privacy, that's you could argue a better for your privacy than your family and friends connecting to the Samourai servers or any other third party. There's a bit of local trust there involved, and also it's sort of you can help them out with any sort of questions, so to speak. Number 5, remixes. So the beautiful thing about Dojo and Samourai Wallet is that on your node, as we spoke about in week 3 during the Whirlpool session, you can run on your dojo something called Whirlpool CLI. And what this basically means is that because your dojo is always on, your dojo takes care of your free Whirlpool remixes, and that makes your Bitcoin, your UTXOs that are sitting in your post-mix wallet of the area of Samourai wallet eligible to be remixed, or selected at random and remixed. So that helps to sort of grow the post-mix Whirlpool liquidity pool, because your UTXOs are sort of still sat in Whirlpool all the time, waiting to sort of help other people out. That's the sort of the how Whirlpool works, is that when your UTXOs are sitting in there, not only are you providing other people with an element of sort of better anonymity and privacy in terms of their UTXOs that have gone into Whirlpool, but you're also getting that privacy benefit yourself, so everybody's a winner. Sixth reason why you might choose to run a dojo is sort of with branded education. So today you might be familiar with how Bitcoin works to a certain extent. You might have dabbled with using various forms of wallets, but running your own node really helps you get into the sort of the weeds of how things work, if you choose to do so. Certainly running your own node, you might explore a little bit more about what the mempool is about, and how transactions are sat there waiting to be confirmed into a block. And these are all sort of things that perhaps you didn't really consider too much prior to running a node. But when you've got your node dashboard up in front of you, it can give you that sort of information, and you can start to ask questions as to how things work a little bit more. And with that, you can pass this information on to others, and sort of become somewhat of a helpful in the Samurai community, if that's something you wish to do so. But personally speaking, it was only after I sort of started to run my own node did I start to sort of really understand exactly what is going on, how it works, and personally speaking, I wouldn't say I'm ever too technical, but it's just that when you start to do these things and build up an element of sort of information and knowledge, things get better over time. So Q's put a quote on the slides, standing on the shoulders of giants, which is quite pertinent. Is there anything we've missed there, Q? You'd like to jump back on?
No, I think you covered it. Just kind of want to echo really the final bit about education. Completely echo what you said about definitely something that made me realise how all of the pieces fit together in terms of what a wallet's role is and what a node's role is in terms of the network and in terms of your own interaction with Bitcoin. Definitely, I'll be honest, it hasn't been plain sailing from day one. There's a little bit of head scratching going on, but that's all part of the journey and part of the process of getting to a position where you're comfortable with this technology and able to sort of, well, as the slide says, pass it on to others.
Yeah, certainly, and with some of the node implementations which have Dojo packaged within them, some are more technical than others, aren't they? As to sort of how deep you want to go. So if you choose to want to maybe go a little bit further down the rabbit hole, then that's certainly possible. But if you want to only just use Dojo at a high level, just for all the sort of privacy reasons, let's say, then you can do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've covered off a load of the positives or the benefits that you get from running your own dojo. There are some considerations that you need to take into account before running one, just so we don't paint it all as rainbows and posies. So the first one is network bandwidth. When you initially download a copy of the blockchain, which is essentially a copy of every single transaction that's ever taken place on the Bitcoin network, that is running at currently 400 gigabytes. Depending on your hardware and of course your network speed, that's going to take you anywhere between a day or two and 5 to 6 days. And you also have to consider if you're on a metered internet connection, your ISP or your internet provider might not look fondly on you trying to download 400 gigabytes in a week. So something to consider there. Next one is uptime. If you have your Samourai wallet backed by your own dojo, and your dojo has some technical issues and you are the other side of the country and you need to send some Bitcoin, then you are not going to be able to broadcast that transaction to the network. So now obviously you're still in control of the private keys, and you can still, there are ways that you could, if you were in a pinch, send that transaction by using somebody else's node or maybe reverting back to the Samourai servers. However, that's going to be just a bit of a hurdle that you need to get over. So if you just bear in mind the sort of hardware that you're going to run this on, make sure that it's at least somewhat reliable so that you can transact freely and whenever you want to, really. Third one we kind of just covered off really in terms of wallet access. If your node is down, you don't have full access to be able to spend your Bitcoin. The fourth one, hardware costs. So we're going to cover this off in detail in a couple of slides, the different ways that you can implement Dojo. And they vary wildly from somewhere you can run it on a computer that you've already got and it'll be absolutely free, all the way up to sort of a plug and play DIY node that might cost sort of $600. There are trade-offs of each, which we'll cover off again, but there is some cost to most of the implementations, or most of the common implementations that you need to be aware of. You will also need a fixed location for this hardware, so it needs to have permanent power, needs to be on all the time, and it will need a internet connection, so it'll need to be somewhere close to your router. We don't normally advise running Dojo through Wi-Fi, which the connection is not as robust as a wired Ethernet one, so just something to consider there in terms of where you're going to position all of that hardware. And lastly, I alluded to this earlier about maybe some head scratching moments and some time spent. If you're new to this, you're going to have to dedicate some hours to learn the setups. Again, there are different ways that you can do this, and they vary in complexity. And there will also be some sort of ongoing maintenance in terms of updates, maybe some troubleshooting if you have any issues. But again, something to consider when you're looking to run your own dojo.
So I'll ask you a question, Q, before we move on. And you have already had practice at this answer because of obviously this is the second time we are recording. So I'm sure you have a polished answer, but I'll ask it again. Um, is it true that you're not a real Bitcoiner if you don't run your own node?
Ooh, he's hit me with a loaded question. There are there are some that will say yes, and there are some that will say no. The absolute most sovereign way that you can interact with Bitcoin and remove as many trusted third parties as possible is to do so through your own node. That way, you are not relying on anybody else. You kind of have a direct connection to the rest of the Bitcoin network and the permissionless nature of that. If you're not connected to your own node, then the theory goes that whoever's node you are connected to kind of has you at their mercy in terms of, if they were to switch off their node, you can't transact easily before connecting to a different node. So the utopia is, yes, everybody on the network runs their own node. However, I'm a realist, and I'm under no illusions that some of this stuff might seem a little bit scary, and the ability for everybody to run a node from day one is not feasible. I didn't start running my own node from day one. I use Samourai wallet connected to the Samourai servers, because it's just that the natural progression, isn't it? You don't get so into something that you want to buy a piece of hardware for a couple $100 from day one. You want to try it for free, and obviously the wallet is free. Download it on your Android phone and get to grips with it. If you start to like it and you want to go a little bit further down the privacy rabbit hole, absolutely follow this video and look into running your own dojo.
I think that was a very good answer, and I'd sort of just echo that I don't believe that you're not a true Bitcoiner if you don't run your own node. You might have various personal reasons as to why, and we will keep our fingers crossed for you, and hope that you choose to run one in the future, I think. Basic features of Dojo. So there's what's called Bitcoin DLNet, which is basically like Bitcoin Core. You might have heard Bitcoin Core sort of mentioned in forums or whatnot. That's like the node operating sort of blockchain system, if you like, that runs on your node. You've also got an indexer. The simplest way to explain an indexer is like a catalog of all the transactions that have ever existed. So this helps with like querying balances. So when I sort of say querying balances, sort of a term that is used, that's done automatically for you, but it's just know that that is running on your dojo, and that when you interact with your dojo using your Samourai wallet, it's using the the indexer to sort of look up or check transactions. Inbuilt into Dojo, you've got a block explorer as well. So we've sort of spoke about being, this the best way to be self-sovereign and not trust third parties and remain private. Well, your block explorer is really handy for doing that, because what you can do is, instead of going onto a website online and typing in, say, like a Bitcoin transaction ID or a Bitcoin address to see if there's been Bitcoin sent to that, you can query that on your own node, on your own dojo, because you've got the blockchain downloaded onto your own dojo, and because you've got the indexer, you can look up your own transactions, or you can look up other people's transactions in the most privacy preserving fashion. As I spoke about before, you've got Whirlpool CLI. We covered that in the Whirlpool session. I'll just say it again, that running Whirlpool CLI on your node allows for your Samourai wallets to use free 24/7 remixes, so long as your node is turned on. That means you can turn your mobile phone off if you so wish, and your node still takes care of your 24/7 Whirlpool remixes. Spoken about before as well is you've got Tor on your dojo, so all interactions to your dojo are over Tor, which is best for privacy. And then packaged within Dojo is something called the Dojo Maintenance Tool, or sometimes we refer to it as the DMT. What that is basically like a dashboard that allows you to you can open this dashboard up in Tor browser, and you can check the health status of your node. You can look to see whether it's fully up to date in terms of the blockchain that it's downloaded, etc. Using that Dojo maintenance tool as well, you can easily pair your Samourai wallets to your node by simple use of scanning the QR code, and that sort of transfers the information to your Samurai wallet of how it needs to connect to your own node. And then finally, you've got the XPub tool. Q's going to give an overview of this in 2 moments, but what it basically is something within the Dojo maintenance tool, which allows you to sort of scan XPubs and check to see if they're being tracked. And this sort of takes us into, I guess, a little bit more of the sort of techie side to Dojo, delving a little bit deeper into understanding exactly what it's doing and how it works.
Yeah, so as brother alluded to, going to take you through what Dojo maintenance tool is. He quite accurately called it a bit of a dashboard for your dojo, where you can see in the center of the section here, you can see the statuses of the various parts of the dojo. I won't go into all of them, it's probably a little bit too technical for this, but it will sort of summarize that it's whether or not the dojo is sort of in sync with the blockchain and it's at what's known as the tip of the chain. It essentially does it sort of see the blockchain with the same view as the rest of the nodes on the network. You've also got the QR code pairing tab, which, as brother alluded to, you can pair your Samurai wallet or any of your friends or family Samurai wallet with a simple scan of a QR code so that they can use your dojo. We've got the XPub tool, which again is for if you need to do sort of a manual import of somebody else's wallet, if you want your dojo to sort of communicate effectively with their Samurai wallet, you might need to do this from time to time to sort of resync things. That's the same with the address tool, working in exactly the same way, but for individual addresses rather than sort of view only XPub for like an entire wallet. And the final one is blocks rescan. So occasionally, depending on the hardware that you run, your dojo may sort of get out of sync with the network. That might be due to a power outage or perhaps just some hardware issues. Blocks rescan is a tool where you can sort of tell your dojo to go back over the sort of state of the network so that it can just pick up on any transactions that it might have missed that might be relevant to your wallet or to any of the wallets that are connected to your dojo.
So, as mentioned before, you've got your own personal explorer in your dojo. This allows you to query balances. Now, the great thing about the explorer is if you're not sort of too much into command line, like I can hold my hand up and say that I'm not, is what your explorer is you access it over the Tor browser, and it's a sort of a graphical user interface, sort of say version, used for which interacts with the command line of the node. So instead of you having to go into the command line and query transactions, this is like a nice little interface. You might be might be familiar with the sorts of things that will be displayed on screen, such as you can see an example here. It's got a transaction ID and it's showing you a transaction here as well. We can see that transaction has 1 input and 2 outputs. So you can query either your own balances or other people's, and this is the most private way to sort of explore transactions and addresses on the Bitcoin blockchain. You might be used to going on to something like mempool.space, but remember that's being run on somebody else's node. And although I believe you can access mempool.space over the Tor network over a .onion address, nothing quite beats looking up transactions on your own node. So what do you get in the Explorer? You have a mempool summary, so it will give you a summary of all the transactions in your mempool, and that will tell you sort of estimation of fees as well as how many transactions are waiting to be confirmed, what sort of the fee rate of the fee environment is at this very moment in time. If you're looking to save a pinch on fees, you can look at your own mempool summary and look to see what fees are currently being confirmed, and you can even see, oh well, I'm happy to wait a little bit longer and go for a lower fee, and it will give you that information on screen. As I sort of spoke about before, it gives you all the transaction details. And another thing you can do through the Explorer, if you so wish, is you can verify the supply of how many Bitcoins have been issued. We've perhaps all heard that or know that there'll only ever be 21 million Bitcoins issued. So you can use your Explorer to look in, to query that, and it'll come back and tell you how many Bitcoins to date have been issued. And yeah. Is there anything I missed there, Q?
No, I'll just say that, reference the last point, there's nothing quite like the feeling that you get when you've done that, the verification of the supply using your own hardware. Always puts a smile to my face. Have you done it?
I did it a while ago. I think. Yeah, it's been a while. If I'm deadly honest. But again, it's one of them things that I think that once you first set up your node, you sort of looking to do all these things, don't you? Oh, what
Feels
can
like
it do?
a rite of passage, doesn't it?
Verify the supply. Yeah, it's that first one. You hit enter, and you sort of say, oh, and you're checking that on your own node as well, aren't you? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's that's that. I think that's the most powerful part of
One
checking
one
the supply.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that given the nature of what that command is doing, it's essentially totaling up the output from all of the transactions that have ever existed on the network. It can take, again, depending on your hardware, it can take sort of between 3 and 6 or 7 minutes. So if you hit the button and you don't see anything immediately, don't be alarmed, just give it some time.
Nice.
Right, as we've alluded to, there are many different flavors of Dojo. And many different ways that you can implement the Dojo software. So we're just going to give a brief overview of what they are, so that you can sort of make an educated decision as to which one might sort of suit you best. So going from top to bottom, we've got the aptly named Vanilla Dojo. This is the sort of the basic Dojo software that the Samourai wallet developer team they release. That's designed for Linux and Mac on x86-64, which is basically any normal desktop or laptop. So you can't run Vanilla Dojo on sort of a single board computer like a Raspberry Pi, unfortunately. However, there are, as we'll come on to in a minute, plenty of other solutions for that. So yeah, the application is DIY. You've got to be comfortable getting dirty in the command line for this one. But the payback that you get for that is that the software is absolutely free. And if you've already got a spare laptop or a spare desktop floating around in your house with sufficient hardware, with sufficient storage, to take the 400 gigabyte blockchain, then it is an absolutely free way for you to get your own dojo. Next down the list, we've got Ronin Dojo. So this piece of software is designed for single board computers only. The Ronin Dojo team offer a plug and play option, which is essentially a box that you can purchase that turns up ready to go. You just plug it into your power and your router at home, turn it on, and away it goes to sort of start syncing the blockchain. They also offer a DIY software where you can go onto their website, download the Ronin Dojo software. And the way that works is they offer sort of an easy or a much easier way to implement Dojo on your single board computer. So everything is sort of scripted so that you can kind of, after a couple of commands, just hit the button and away it'll go. And you'll have your own Dojo in a couple of days. Next one is the Noddle. Again, that's for a single board computer. The only option that they offer is plug and play. You can find that on their website. They do run on some more robust hardware, but you're going to have to pay for that. Next up, we have MyNode. Again, runs for a single board computer. Works in a very similar way to Ronin Dojo. They offer a plug and play option and a DIY option, both varying in costs, especially the DIY one because you can choose your own hardware. So the prices we've included on screen there are sort of the cheaper option, but obviously you're at liberty to use whatever hardware you'd like. Finally, we have Umbrel. They are predominantly for single board computers, although they do offer an experimental Linux version for desktops and laptops. We've classified them as a DIY because they do not offer any plug and play option. And I think that's it. I've not missed anything off there, have I, brother, before we move on?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe perhaps now is a good time just to highlight that there's a lot of confusion, certainly with Ronin Dojo having dojo in its title, isn't it? So um, it's worth just reiterating that dojo itself, or what Q's termed here vanilla dojo, um, is the sort of software which is released by Samurai wallet developers, and then each of the following implementations or node implementations, they package dojo within, don't they?
Yeah, so they sort of package it into a nicer or more polished user interface that might be more palatable for the newcomer that doesn't want to delve as much into the command line. And they all come with other features as well, which I think you're going to cover off briefly in the next slide. So I'll move on.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. So from the top of the shop, we'll go for Dojo or Vanilla Dojo itself first. So as Q said before, it's completely free, and that sort of fairly low barrier to entry. But the con there being is, if you're not sort of proficient in using command line, and it all goes well. It all goes well until it doesn't, does it? So if you might be able to sort of get it set up and or working, but when you need to troubleshoot, you need to be somewhat competent that you're happy to delve back in and go through that sort of method of troubleshooting. Um, Next one down, you've got Ronin Dojo. So Ronin Dojo, they sort of pride themselves on being laser focused on the Samurai ecosystem, and they also package within their node additional privacy tools. So the Ronin Dojo is a node implementation. They advertise, they are the Samurai Wallet node implementation built by Samurai Wallet users. The con to Ronin Dojo is it requires, at least at the moment, a minimal command line, um, uh, minimal command line to get up and started. But as Cube said before, he actually mentioned, without giving any caveats, that there is a plug and play version of Ronin Dojo on the way, which is soon to hopefully remove the need for users to use any command line. Although what I must say is that for myself, someone not being very proficient in command line, it is quite easy to get set up on Ronin. Next down, you've got a Noddle. So they sort of brand themselves on high quality hardware, and with Noddle, they also package within various other non-Dojo related apps. So if you wanted to run other nodes, other wallet softwares backed by your node, that might be an option for you. Though Noddle is probably a little bit more expensive than the others, and it's worth saying that because these node packages, they sort of rely on sort of developers working upstream on software. So say they've packaged in, let's say, Spectre Wallet, for example. Well, if Spectre release the next update to their wallet, well, these node implementations are downstream from that. So these node implementations would then need to update their software to include the most recent version of Spectre Wallet, if you like. So with Noddle, they can be a little bit slow in updating the various sort of software updates from upstream. The next two on the list, it's probably worth sort of somewhat grouping them together because they're very similar, and that's MyNode and Umbral. So they sort of brand themselves on being very simple DIY setup, much like Noddle, that they have a wide range of non-Dojo related apps. And they've almost sort of suffer from similar cons in that they can have like reliability issues, particularly when it comes to Dojo. But maybe another thing that Umbral prioritizes over anything else is sort of a very polished UI. But the unfortunate thing about having sometimes a very polished UI is that it doesn't allow users to sort of troubleshoot and get deep and dirty into error logs, so to speak. If things go slightly amiss. Q, is anything you want to highlight on the flavors of Dojo? pros and
No,
cons?
I think that was a great. You covered everything. All of the different implementations, like you can see on screen, have their pros and their cons. So just do some homework and sort of have a good poke around to see which one's going to work best for you.
Yeah, certainly.
I would say make sure you consider the sort of community support or general support available around the different implementations, particularly if you're a new user. And that support can be a lifesaver, especially if you're having some troubleshooting instances. Definitely one to bear in mind.
And one thing that is maybe worth suggesting, although we haven't put it on the slides, is that the varying node implementations that package Dojo within. Um, Dojo is free and open source. Some of the node implementations they have different license types. So in the spirit of this session, all being about free and open source software, it should be noted that there is at least one on there that I'm aware of which doesn't hold the same license type as Dojo. It's like sort of more proprietary software. So, getting back to being sort of decentralization and that ideology, if that's the sort of thing that is important to you, it's another thing to sort of do your research on if you want to have a look at the license types, and then that might also help inform a decision as to which node implementation you'd like to go for.
Yeah, definitely well said. So one of the final slides is I just wanted to sort of demonstrate the quote unquote Uncle Jim model that having your own dojo will allow. So I'm going to start from the left hand side and work my way clockwise. So let's say you've got your own dojo, you've got it all set up. Congratulations. Obviously, we've alluded to the fact heavily throughout these 4 sessions that you can connect your Samourai wallet to your own dojo. And you can also connect your Whirlpool CLI to your own dojo as well for those 24/7 remixes. We've covered that heavily. What it will also allow is, let's say in this example, your wife has a Samourai wallet. She can connect to the same dojo. She doesn't need her own hardware. Hopefully, if she's your wife, then she trusts you with her sort of transaction privacy information. And she can also connect her Whirlpool desktop GUI to your dojo so that she can, if she leaves that desktop GUI on, she can benefit from 24/7 remixing. Again, benefiting from the privacy of you running your own dojo. And that sort of process or sort of implementation can be expanded out to any number of friends. To my knowledge, I don't know of anybody that's kind of hit a limit yet in terms of how many wallets they've got connected to their dojo. I'm sure the specific hardware will have a bearing on this. But if you're running on a single board computer, the likelihood is that there aren't enough Samourai wallet users in your friendship group to make your dojo struggle. So it's just a really neat way, even if it's only temporary, as a way to onboard your friends into the Bitcoin and the Samourai ecosystem. They're off to a good start where they are trusting only you with their transactional information, and then further down the line, if they decide that this is sort of an ecosystem that they want to explore a bit more, hopefully you've learned enough that you can help them set up their own dojo as well.
Yeah, or you might, like me, not have enough friends. So to round this off, there's some information on screen here. So sort of dip your toes in, have a look around. So there's places you can find and ask questions for all the node implementations that we've spoken about today. The first link on there is the Dojo Telegram channel. That is the Dojo software released by Samourai Wallet. So that tends to be a little bit more technical chat in that Telegram channel. And then you've got the rest of the links on screen for the other node implementations. You've got Ronin Dojo UI, Noddle.it, mynode_BTC, and you've got the Get Umbral Telegram chat as well. And then for more information, if you want to have a little look around, the docs.samourai.io. There's some guides there as well. Should you wish to sort of do a little bit more delving into what you can use Samourai for, how it works, how you can connect it to these things, and go from there.
I think we've made it through unscathed. Fingers crossed.
I think we have. Yeah, I think we
We're not,
have.
we're not out the woods yet. My laptop still needs to
Relay.
finish processing everything. But touch wood, I think we're good. Yeah, just want to say thank you for your help
Yeah,
with
fingers
these
crossed we have
with
it
these
fair play.
with these 4 sessions, and hopefully those listening or watching have got some use out of them, and that they can be shared far and wide to help widen that Samourai ecosystem.
Indeed, thank you, mate. Well, thank you very much for listening. And if you've missed the previous 3 sessions, they are available for you to watch on the Samourai Wallet YouTube page, as well as bitcointv.com. We appreciate your kind feedback over the last couple of weeks. And if you have any suggestions for future sessions, be sure to let us know. You can follow developments and ongoings of Samourai Wallet via Twitter @Samourai Wallet, reach out for support, ask questions, or join discussions from the Samourai Wallet Telegram chat, t.me/Samourai Wallet, and you can find more in-depth information on the Samourai Wallet website, samouraiwallet.com. Samourai Wallet is privacy first, with anything else being unacceptable. Upholding of privacy, particularly when transacting on the Bitcoin network, is fundamental to ensuring financial freedom. That, coupled with free and open source software, is a force to be reckoned with. Now, it's up to you to use the tools at your disposal. We hope to see you poolside.